A question has arisen as to what happens when someone inherits property, or two people inherit property, and one of them wants to sell it to be cashed out, but the other one doesn't want to do that and wants to either rent it out or continue living in it if they were living in it before. How do you get the property sold for the party that wants to be cashed out? What we're talking about here is called partition, and the law in the state of California will not require someone to continue owning property with someone that they co-own it with if one of the parties wants to sell it and the other one doesn't. And the law provides an action called partition to dispense with that issue. There are three types of partition. The first one is called partition in kind, which would apply if you have, for example, items that are what are called fungible, divisible, like a sack of beans. There's a second type of partition, which often is used with real property, called partition by appraisal, where the parties mutually agree that they'll get the property appraised with a mutually agreeable appraiser, and they'll agree to be bound by the value of the property. So long as they don't disagree as to the percentages of ownership of the property, whether it be 50-50 or otherwise, they then either sell the property and divide the proceeds in that manner, or one party agrees to buy the other out in a partition by appraisal. And then if they can't agree to a partition by appraisal, but still one party wants to be cashed out and the other party will not buy them out, the law provides for a third type of appraisal called partition by sale. That requires a lawsuit. The others do not require a lawsuit. A partition action is filed. The court will then conduct what's called an interlocutory hearing for issuance of an interlocutory judgment, at which point the court determines what are the percentages of ownership of this property. Are they 50-50 or 75-25? And it depends upon the facts. Assuming they're 50-50, the court will then appoint a referee who takes control of the property, selects a realtor. The realtor goes out and gets potential buyers for the property. The buyers are all told that the sale is subject to approval by the court. The buyers all come together on an appointed date for an auction in the courtroom. And it's a regular type auction where there can be overbids. Anybody can overbid. Even one of the owners can overbid and likely be able to get credit for their half interest in the property if it's a 50-50 ownership. It's a relatively simple type of lawsuit because there are no defenses to it except for the one major defense would be waiver. If the party that didn't want to sell has a defense to the lawsuit that the other co-owner waived the right to partition, usually in writing.